I'm gonna wait a few minutes. All right. So this is a free workshop I'm doing in this the group. You might be seeing this on my email list as well. It's called Activating Your Intuitive Magic. So because I decided to call this group Intuitive Self-Care, I wanted to first start with what intuition is, according to me, and how I teach it and how I use it and all of that. So as you're watching this, even if you were just watching recording, you can either comment or email me or anything else what you think intuition is and how you would like to use it. What would you like to learn about it? But other than that, I'm just going to go through. I have some notes, so you might see me looking. It's just because I don't want to babble any more than I already do. So that is what I'm looking at if I'm looking over. But I'm going to wait a few minutes, see if anyone joins us. And just start talking about what you guys think intuition is, and then just I'll start talking about what other people think it is and what I think it is, and we'll start from there. I'm going to discuss how to build your intuition. I'm also going to run you through an exercise, a meditation to activate your intuition. And let's see, what else are we doing? That's pretty much it. No big deal, right? And then, yeah, lastly, how to kind of use intuition in your everyday life. This group is called Intuitive Self-Care. So I do believe that your self-care can be intuitive. And so that's basically the outline for today. So first of all, what is intuition? So a lot of us get this picture of intuition, someone who's psychic, someone who can, maybe we confuse being intuitive with being a medium or psychic. I'm not going to discount those experiences at all. I do not consider myself a psychic. I do think that my intuitive skills are built. I've been working on them for a long time, but that also means that I believe that you watching this can build your skills and be intuitive and use them in all sorts of ways. So a definition of intuition I found is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. And so that when our gut gives us a feeling of doing something, sometimes for me, it makes no sense at all. Or maybe I don't think I'm ready, or maybe my logical brain will step in. For instance, self-care, my intuition will be like, maybe you need to just take a walk in your yard today. Like, well, that's not a long enough walk. It's just something like you'll start arguing with it. So intuition acts immediately. It's something that's really immediate. You feel it in your gut. That's why we say trust your gut, because you feel it deep in your gut. Usually you feel it's a very visceral, like it's like you feel your intuition. We all feel that. It's our spiritual connection. So, and that doesn't mean you have to have a religion, believe in God, divine, anything. We all have intuition. All of us have a spiritual connection. By spirit, I mean our spirit, and a connection to whatever we believe in, whether it just be ourselves, something else, whatever. But our intuition is our connection with that spiritual connection that leads us into certain directions. And some of those directions, again, will not make sense. I like the word presently. When you think of intuition, it's something that's very present. So instead of having us think of something far out into the future, intuition, it might set off dreaming, but intuition is about that first little step. Wear this color today. I don't know. I'm just thinking of something. Do this, and you're not really sure why. Intuition is not digging into your past, and it's very, very presently. So intuition to me is something present and acts in presence. It gives us what we need to know at the time we need to know it. And I use the word "it" because I feel like you can define it many things. It's again that spiritual connection. And it does draw from our experiences. So our intuition speaks to us in a way that draws from our experiences. It does draw from the past. It does draw from our dreams of the future. It's not completely alien. Usually, sometimes our intuition does give us kind of an inkling to do something that doesn't seem, completely rational at the time. For instance, when I knew I had to quit my job, I just a few months before that said I just wasn't ready. It would take another year, because I had to have this, this, and this in order to do that. Then when my intuition acted, it was so immediate. It was like, you need to quit your job and give your 2 weeks notice, on this day, and it was within weeks, and your last day should be here. I'm like, well, I had no idea. Like, just a few months before that, I was, not really worried about quitting my job in a timely manner, but my intuition told me to do that. Um, and I'm still building, my work and trying to do this work full time and take care of my family, without having to work a full time or part time even job. Like, even, every evening was too much. So, when you look at our budget and when you look at, things going on, it was like, that's not a great time. But I still trusted my intuition, and I still continue to trust and know that it has been a good decision for us. Um, so sometimes your intuition gives you something that doesn't make sense. Sometimes it gives you something super simple. And sometimes, you don't know why, but you have to take a first step. As long as, when I quit my job, I wasn't putting my family at risk. I still did practical things in order to make sure that we wouldn't starve and things like that. But I trusted, even though in my mind, a year would be enough time for me to get completely out of debt, um, have all the money saved up to live off of for 6 months. And that didn't happen. I just quit because my intuition was nagging me to. So your intuition doesn't speak from, a foreign place necessarily. Your intuition does speak in the same language you do. Um, Most of us don't get lights through our ceiling and tell us to do something. Um, I know I don't. It's kind of subtle, but not. It's like I feel it in my gut. If my brain, I know the difference, because if my brain is overthinking and like, just thinking and analyzing something over and over, it's not my intuition, it's my brain. And that's fine to use your brain, of course. You don't want to just use your intuition, you don't want to just use your brain. Um, they have to work together. And so that's where our experiences come in. So, um, yeah, it's always not always based on fact. So when I quit my job, it wasn't based on, the fact that I was uh, just rich all of a sudden and I could quit my job and travel around the world. No, it was based on much of this feeling and trusting myself. To trust your intuition sometimes takes a lot of faith. And so trust and faith go hand in hand. And I used to have a problem with that word. But it's such an important word when it comes to your intuition. Yeah, so, most of us perceive it in our gut, our solar plexus, and then our maybe lower, like, womb type area with your male, female, that kind of belly area. Sometimes you are afraid, and that's not necessarily a bad sign. That means it's important to you. Fear triggers value. It's like it shows you that something is valuable to you. Um, so, but yeah, we all take in and activate our intuition differently. So, you might, for me, sometimes things come out on paper when I write. I've been trying to solve a problem, and I will, to be honest, sometimes I get like addicted to overthinking. It's like a kind of like a comfortable, happy place for me to overthink because I want to solve things in my brain. But then I will journal, and it will just be clear as day what I need to do. And so some of us, it's activated through writing. Some of us, it's, when we hear our intuition through writing. Some of us do actually hear things. When I, read cards, and when I read cards for people still, I don't hear like a voice, but I have like words come through my mind, and they don't make any sense to me because I have no idea what that means to the other person. And so I just trust it, and even if it sounds weird, I say it, and I am very open with the person, saying I have no idea what this means, but, I'm supposed to say this, and usually does, make sense for them. So some of us some of us artists, for instance, if you're a visual artist, or even music, you intuit as you create a piece, and so you don't know what you're going to do when you approach a blank canvas being whatever your medium is, but it comes out. That's using your intuition. Some of us need to feel things. So when you get body work done, or if you do yoga, some of us really intuit things through movement. There's been times where I've gone to a yoga class or I've done yoga at home and I'm like crying all of a sudden, or because I have clarity on something, my intuition spoke to me and healed me in a certain way. So yes, your intuition is a lot of things. It speaks to us in a lot of ways, and it doesn't have to be complicated. And again, we are all intuitive. Every single one of us is intuitive. It's an innate skill. It's like, it's a sense. It's something we were born with, but we just don't speak of. And so it has this like cloak of obscurity, where we think of like Miss Cleo, or maybe not Miss Cleo, if you even know who that is, or someone with like a turban, or or maybe you think of someone who reads like tarot cards. Well, they're like me. You think, oh, well, she's intuitive because she's doing this work. No, like every single one of us is intuitive. So it's a great disservice that a lot of us are raised not even knowing what to trust ourselves. A lot of us were not even raised to trust like and I think that intuition is a basic skill, and it's not static. It's very much fluid and can be grown. Um, Being intuitive doesn't mean you can predict the future necessarily. Some people, even in this group, I think, do identify as psychic. I do not. I have predicted things, but not on purpose. I just trust my intuition. And when I talk to people and things will come out, and I'm like, I don't know what this means, but it comes out later. It makes sense. So that doesn't mean you're psychic. But that doesn't mean, like, to me, being psychic is not like the end goal. Being intuitive in like making that part of your life is the end goal. So it can be a powerful compass to direct your life purpose. So life purpose also to me is not static. Life purpose to me is really fluid, and it's about taking these minuscule little steps and trusting your gut, and using the intuition, your gut, to inform your brain, and putting those things together can be extremely powerful. So if you do not think you're intuitive, think about why you don't think you're intuitive. And I would love to either have you comment on this. If you're watching it later, that's fine. Or email me, and we can work on what it is that's preventing you from thinking that you're intuitive. So how do we build it? That's why most of you are probably here. So I am not going to give you like a magic spell to activate your intuition. I wish I could. And I do think the closest thing that is energy work and meditation, but which we will do. But the way you build your intuition is by trusting your intuition. So 5 years ago, I really didn't know I was intuitive. I was, obviously, because we all are, again, but I didn't trust myself at all. I would get these like ideas, and then I would just be like, but I can't do it because of this and this. So fear can be an activator or a destroyer of your intuition's actions. So now if I get afraid, I'm like, oh, that's exciting. Let me see what I can do with that. And then I trust it and I go toward it. So the more you trust your intuition, the more it will grow, and the more exciting things happen surrounding your intuition. So trust builds intuition. Again, we all take in information differently. So a way that is a key in how you intuit things is by how you learn. So in school, if you were a person that could read a textbook and learn, that was not me, then you will know that, I don't know, reading, but maybe your intuition will speak to you through words. And so by writing, you're activating your intuition. Writing is very crucial to me. That's why when I feel more comfortable writing than I do like doing this video, for instance, because I feel like my intuition is a lot stronger when I write. And so my skill right now I'm building is to work with that. And that's why I'm doing a lot more video, is to work with that and trusting it on the spot more. And so when I do readings in person, I'm fine and everything like that. But there's always room to grow. So I know that the easiest way for me to solve a problem is by writing. Um, some of us getting touch, movement, things like that can help us to activate our intuition. The key to everything, though, is meditation. Meditation is, I will say, the only way to activate your intuition. And so my definition of meditation is super broad. So I'm not going to, I used to try so hard, and I do still sometimes do this, but I used to try so hard to meditate in the way that you see on Instagram with all the hashtag yoga, cross my legs, and sit there for 20 to 30 minutes. I have such a busy mind, so meditation for me has to involve movement. I have to walk, and then maybe I can sit down. I have to write. That's meditative for me. I don't think that it all has to all look like that. If you are a person that can sit still and cross-legged and that's your meditation, great. Now the closest version I have to that that's steady is that I sit and do not look at my phone, nothing, and I sit and listen to birds in my backyard. That's meditation. Have you ever noticed that when you have give your brain space, like taking a shower, that you'll get an idea or a problem will be solved? So for me, if I was be nursing my son, I would just get clarity. I'm like, oh, this thing I've been like thinking on is finally clear because I let my brain rest for a second, which again is extremely difficult for me. That's why I have all these practices built up. That's why I know, that's why I can teach this, because I have struggled. And then Kimberly says she learns best through dialogue. So yeah, learn to talk with the tarot a bit. So yeah, first of all, I'm going to speak to that. Talking to someone or out loud is actually a way that people do start to trust their intuition. Is a lot of really intelligent people, supposedly according to all these like articles I see on Facebook. Have you ever noticed these articles are like these horrible things about you actually mean you're a genius? So if you're messy and cuss, and if you talk to yourself, you're a genius. But I think there's some truth to that. That I think that when people need to speak out loud to process something, that is a beautiful way of intuiting. And I do think there's some intelligence to that because you are allowing yourself to process. Trusting your intuition is a lot about processing, but again, it's not the overall processing. It's like the immediate gut reaction. And yes, tarot and oracle cards, of course, that's a really powerful way to use your intuition because, and I am gonna, I have a course coming up where I'm teaching intuitive tarot. I call it embodied tarot because I'm teaching how to self-care with tarot. I'll talk about that later, but well, I'll just talk about it now. So I have that workshop coming up. It's $33. It's going to be online. It's limited to, I forget how many, 25 people or something like that. Because the cards, again, the way I read with cards is not psychic. I don't have like a manual next to me and says this card means this and this is how I know like the structure of the cards and everything like that, what the elements of the cards are and all that, and so that informs me, but mostly the cards are a way for me to look at something and kind of piece together meaning from that. So that's a beautiful way to learn journaling. Like I said, taking a bath or a shower is a really great way, and not, I used to do this too. I could not sit in a bath without listening to like a podcast. I'm addicted to podcasts. So now one of my practices is to walk without listening to anything, which is hard for me sometimes, but I do it at least a few times a week. And then take a shower. Obviously, that's easier. Can't listen to a podcast in the shower usually. Shower or bath without listening to anything, putting yourself in places where meditation to me is putting yourself in the place of where you can listen and of stillness and of presence. Again, intuition acts in the present moment. Intuition speaks about the present, very present. It might give you a huge glimpse of the future, but you might not know how to get there. So you have to tap back in, check back in. And the way you check back in is meditation. And so writing, tarot, oracle, walking, yoga, dreaming. So dreaming is a really great way. I'm working on this because I've been so exhausted having a toddler for a few years that at my dreams, I'm like drooling and I don't remember what I dreamt. I'm like, that was important, but I can't quite remember what it was. But our intuition does speak to us in dreams if we are lucky enough to get that. So keeping a journal like right next to your bed, and I've read that the littlest you remember these things by moving very little and just writing them down. So that these are all ways you can speak with your intuition. And your intuition is your spiritual connection. So whatever way that is, if it is meditation or prayer, that's beautiful, like traditional meditation, then do that. But building a practice around it, which I will get to, but building a practice around that way that your intuition speaks to you is crucial. So find how you meditate and do it daily. Um, yeah, so we need to allow space for it to speak to us. We need to allow space for presence. So if there aren't any questions, I'm going to go ahead and start with the guided work. And then we'll wrap up and talk about a few other things. But I wanted everyone to have an activation of intuition, see if they could feel it. Now that you know that you are intuitive, most of the group knows that they're intuitive. But I would love to know what you think that is, and I would love for you to feel it in this way, of feeling it as something very present, very tangible, very immediate. So I'm gonna drink a little tea and then we'll get started. All right. Does anyone have any questions while I'm drinking this tea? All right. That was an excuse for me to drink tea. So rub your hands together. If you're wearing glasses, take them off. And there's a few ways you can do this. This easiest way is just to put your palms over your eyes. If you want, there is a way to do another sensory deprivation type. We usually do it in yoga before B breath. So you're putting your fingers over your eyes, your thumbs in your ears. So if you're really overstimulated, you need to close your ears off too. Nose. You're not pressing super hard in the mouth. You can do that. It looks really weird. So you could do that. I'm just going to put my palms over my eyes. If you do want to learn more about B breath, you can do that. So rub your hands together, put your palms over your eyes, and just start breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Do that in your own time, like 3, 4, 5 times, whatever it takes to settle. Eventually closing your mouth. Bring your shoulders up to your ears and down, up to your ears, tightening them and then loosening them down, tightening them, loosening them down. 2 more times. If your hands and arms get tired, mine are already tired for some reason, you can rest them. This is not an exercise to see who can keep their arms up the longest. Not this time. We do that sometimes in yoga classes I teach, but this time it's just about, so if you feel like that, you can also rest your arms on a table and do this. That's what I'm going to do. Keep breathing in through your nose. Eventually, you're going to feel your belly expanding when you breathe in and breathe out. Belly comes in. Send as much breath as you can to that belly. You're trying to get your breath out of your chest and lower and lower and lower so you can reach your belly. Rest here, just listening to your breath. Now start sending the breath from the belly up into the abdomen, just above your belly button. So breathe in to your belly, bring the breath up to your abdomen, and then up to your chest. So you're just slowly following your breath up from your belly, your abdomen, and your chest. And exhale the same way. Should feel like a wave. We're getting extra centered so that our intuition speaks as clearly as possible. We're inviting presence. We're inviting presence, and we are inviting presence. We are inviting our intuition to speak to us. Maybe not today, but throughout the week. But hopefully today. Keep doing that breath, those waves from your abdomen to your chest now. And then to your chest. So you can keep breathing that way throughout this whole time. If you want, you can. If you need to be more closed off, if you're still having trouble focusing and you're a little nervous, keep your hands on your eyes. If not, bring your palms to your lap, open palm on your lap. And I'm going to do some distance Reiki where I'm not usually what I do is I guide you through your hand motions, but at this moment I just want you to receive and to feel it. I don't want you to move or struggle or anything like that, just feeling the reception. So keep your eyes closed and just keep breathing. Your only job is to breathe and receive. That's it. And you might not hear me speak, but I am working. You might feel it. Opening up the space for me to be able to give and you to be able to receive. Energy is not mine or yours. It's just floating around, being interpreted, translated, and you're open to the messages. Keep breathing. If you stop breathing, remind yourself to breathe and receive. Don't try to force a message. Don't try to force anything. Just simply receive whatever needs to come through. Keep breathing. Just receive any messages that need to come through. Receive. Receive. Know that you're worthy of your intuition speaking to you. You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't done anything to block your intuition. That's impossible. Every single person's every single person deserves to have a spiritual connection to themselves and to the divine, the universe, God, whatever you want to call him, her, it, they. It's not about deserving. Receive. So open your heart now. If you're slouching, I'm feeling like anyone watching this might be slouching. But open your heart, breathe into your heart, and receive through your heart. Keep breathing. Receive. Know that you deserve clarity, that you deserve to know. And you might already know. But now it's time to trust it. So breathe in through your abdomen. And if you did receive any clarity, if you do receive clarity, when you do, trust it. The trust will grow your intuition. The trust will show gratitude for your intuition. And gratitude brings more gifts into your life because you can see them. It's not like clarity and money and all that falls from the sky necessarily. It's because you can see them and feel what you've already been given. And that creates room for more intuition, more clarity. Deep breathing. Receive. Trust. Act. Receive, trust, and act. That's how we engage with our intuition. And it gets easier and easier. Speak it out loud. Act. Share with someone you trust. Have someone help you interpret messages if necessary. All of these things. So when you're ready, you can come out of this. I'm starting to explain a little bit more instead of meditating. So rub your hands together like this, your palms, your wrists. Give yourself a little massage. Hopefully, if you do need to take a break, you can journal if your intuition spoke to you in any way. That is a way to center yourself. That kind of is like sitting down, standing still. But you can do that anytime. Basically, the goal is to breathe, center yourself, and open yourself up to receiving. Then when you receive, you give gratitude and you trust it, and then you move forward and act. So that's when your brain kicks in. Your brain is like, so how can I act on this without freaking out too much? You act with what you know, not with what you think will happen. So there are a few other things I could talk about with your intuition. But yes, I think that if you receive, trust, and act, that just came through. I didn't write that in my notes. It just came through during the meditation. So that is kind of how I engage in my intuition. There's certain periods where our intuition is actually stronger, and that's noted in several places. A lot of people doing this work have noted that during if we're women who bleed, during the time when we bleed, our intuition is very strong. And so creating practices, if you really seek clarity, creating like a mini retreat for yourself during the time when you're bleeding, if you can. I cannot like go off somewhere because I have a family to raise. Well, I just have a dog and a cat and a kid to raise, but I can create moments where I don't have to be online. That's a really great way to engage if you're bleeding. Don't be online. If you know that your intuition is going to be stronger, why do you honor that and let yourself be able to receive more? Um, yeah, so I just don't go online. I try not to take clients. I try not to do any teachings. It doesn't always work out, but I try. And if I do have to do something, that's the only thing I do. And the rest of the time I spend journaling, being quiet, accepting presence, being present so I can receive messages. Sometimes the moon will affect us if you are not someone who bleeds, then the new moon a lot of times is an intuitive time for me. For me, the full moon tends to be where my intuition wants to like act, and the new moon is where I'm like incubating things. And that's how a lot of people work, I think. So setting yourself up during the moon, I'm happy to talk about that in this group, how I actually use the moon for planning things and how I live my life cyclically through my menstrual cycle and the moon. Mostly my menstrual cycle because it's just more tangible, but the moon also is like a secondary layer of how I live. I would love to teach that if you guys are open to that. So please comment if you are. So yes, if I know that I'm going to be more intuitive during these times, so yeah, the new moon incubate. You know, a lot of us will bleed during those times anyway, so it kind of works out. Incubate, create space for reception. So a lot of this work is not about receiving immediately, even though it can be. A lot of this is creating space for the intuition to come through when you're not thinking about it. So a lot of this intuitive work is about creating space and creating presence. So when you know that you're going to be more intuitive, build a ritual around that, build a routine around that, build something so that you can have a little bit of an edge to be able to listen. So honoring those cycles is like a great, easy way to engage with your intuition. And also it's a way of self-care. It's a way of honoring your cycles, not just so you'll receive messages, but so that you can honor yourself and what your energy is at. So yeah, if you would be interested in learning about that, I would love to geek out about that. I might do it anyway, just for fun. But let me know if there's interest. I'm not just building things for no reason. So, like I said, intuition can guide your self-care practices, and there's a lot of people doing work that have nothing to do with quote spirituality in this realm necessarily. But there's people who teach intuitive eating. There's people that teach intuitive exercise, all that kind of stuff. Intuitively decluttering your home. So that Marie Kondo woman, the magical something of tidying up. I forgot what it's called. I'm sorry. Anyway, she teaches that you pick up objects and they bring joy to you. You know, your intuition can speak through joy too. It doesn't have to be all like serious, you know. I think I forget that my intuition can speak joyfully to me. And not always, have me do something that's difficult and humongous. So yeah, she teaches that you pick objects up and you intuit if they feel good, or she doesn't, I don't know if she uses that word or not, but it is intuition. It's picking up something. Does this feel good or not in my home? And then intuitively eating when you're hungry. That's such a basic skill, right? But most of us do not eat when we're hungry. We either eat too much, too little, skip meals, eat numbingly. So that is not my specialty at all. If you are interested in that, I know someone who could teach about that. But yes, intuitively eating, you can intuitively exercise. So that's something else I do with my cycles. I have taken a break from exercise because of my disease. I felt my intuition told me, my body told me that I needed to be very gentle with myself. But I used to align my exercise with my cycles. So, and also how I feel, which almost always matched with my cycle. I'm like, I feel like I can't go exercise or run or whatever. And then I would look at my little app, my Flow app, and it would be like, today is you're going to start your period in 2 days. Well, no wonder I was tired. So honoring those cycles is a lot about why you're in using that with your intuition. So you can intuitively move. My yoga practice used to be very strict and like, I would have to do this Ashtanga, I don't know if you know what that is, or Vinyasa practice every single morning for 60 to 90 minutes every single morning. And otherwise, I felt like a failure, and sometimes I just didn't feel like it, and it wasn't laziness. I've never been a lazy person, so it's definitely never laziness when I don't feel like doing something. It's because my body wanted to move in another way, and so now I completely intuitively do my yoga practice. And when I plan them, I always have a plan, but sometimes if I teach a workshop, some different things will come through, and I have to honor that. And so you can use your intuition for anything. So here's a few exercises I kind of thought about that you could do. Um, some of them are kind of playful, so you can go to the store and intuitively pick out food. Use your gut to pick out food and then create a meal. Then take it home. Use your brain to put together a meal with this. Use your creativity and your brain to put together a meal with the food you pick. Again, you can go for a walk and completely, your intuition might speak you on that walk anyway, but also let your intuition guide the directions you go. I used to do this every single Sunday. And that was one of the practices. Like, I actually went back soon. I used to go completely silent on Sundays, and I used to go for walks for like an hour or two and just let myself get lost. Just like let myself get lost. Of course, be careful about it. Don't I live in a city, so I'm not going to go into a neighborhood that I've never been to, and I don't know. But most places it's safe for you to get lost in. Um, and so get lost. So that's something, those are two little things that you could do. Other ways is getting yourself a tarot or oracle deck, just playing with it. And that's hard because most of us, when we get those decks, are going to want to dig in that little white book and just obsess about what they mean. If you would like to take my course, though, I could show you a different way. I can show you how to read those cards and use them in another way. So if you're interested in that, please sign up for my course. I will link it below. Other ways. So yeah, morning pages is something. I don't know if this woman called Julia Cameron wrote this book called The Artist Way, and I followed that book for years, and I still journal pretty much every day. But write 3 pages every morning without any intention. So just write for 3 pages every morning. So those are a few ways to play. I can give you more. So go to the store, pick out food, and make a meal out of it. Without a list, just go and whatever you'd like to make. Go for a walk and get lost. Journal. Get some tarot oracle cards. Take my workshop if you are interested in learning how to use them in that way. So your intuition can, the name of this group, Intuitive Self-Care, your intuition can guide your self-care practices. It doesn't have to, and I'm all about routine. I think routine is, sorry, there's a fly, I left my door open. But I'm all about routine. I think that routine is crucial, but it's only, for me, it's only a skeleton. Like, I want to wake up and I address my mind, body, spirit every morning some way. That's my routine, and I try to wake up at a certain, no, I don't try to wake up at a certain time. I try to get enough sleep, so that's part of my routine. That's the skeleton of it. But when I wake up and move my body a certain way, it's not going to look the same every morning. When I work at my altar or meditate, it's definitely not going to look the same. My journaling practice is always different, but it always exists. So your intuition can guide how you take care of yourself every day. And it helps you have a little more ease and not force yourself to live this picture perfect life that makes no sense to what you actually need. Because if your practices are not intuitive, they're not going to serve you. They're honestly pointless. You might get in really good shape. I was in great shape. You might have a practice that is really Instagrammable. All that, but when these practices are for you and for you to feel good in your body, for you to get more clarity, for you to not be confused and lost, and I almost said sad, but sadness is part of the journey. So yes, intuitive self-care is for you. Self-care that's Instagrammable and perfect and all that is for everyone else, and that's not the point. So Let me know if you have any questions. I am happy to answer them. Let me know if you are interested in joining my workshop. It is November 10th, and so it'll take place on this software called Zoom. Also, I have 4 spots left in my mentorship, and my mentorship is all about growing your intuition. So if you are interested in that, we do body work, like Reiki, yoga, and breath work, and it's all completely customized for what you need. And it's very collaborative. So by the end of it, you should have some clarity on your next step in life. You should have definitely have an intuitive self-care practice built, all of these things. And I'm only working with 4 people because this work is very deep, and that's something my intuition spoke to me about, that I have to honor my energy, and I cannot work with a billion people anymore. And so I'm only working with 4 of you. I'm happy at a time. And so reach out to me if you want to be one of those 4 people. And other than that, I am going to be doing a bunch of workshops for everyone else who, if your intuition is not speaking to you to work with me that closely, that is fine. But if you want to be with a workshop and be around other people in Kansas City or online, I'm building a lot of those. Also, if you want to learn about intuitive self-care, cyclical intuitive self-care, I would love to geek out about that, but I'm not going to do it unless there's a lot of interest. So these routines, they can be like training wheels, and they could be, if you commit to one thing that you're going to do every day, eventually your intuition starts kind of shuffling things around and making them make more sense for you. So yes, reach out to me if you want to be part of my mentorship, if you want to be in the workshops, either Kansas City, anything that I'm offering in Kansas City, I am happy to offer online as well if there's enough interest. So if you see, I will link my workshop schedule. If you're not in Kansas City and you are interested in one of these workshops, please reach out to me and I will make it so. I will make it online. I think even the yoga ones I can make online. It's going to stretch me a little bit, my comfort zone, but I think that I can do that. So if you're interested in any of that, I just threw a lot at you, but workshops, mentorship, and if you were interested in intuitive self-care routines with cycles. So thank you to all of you for watching this. Thank you for being part of this group. I'm so grateful that you would be part of this group and that you are interested in things I have to say, because I love teaching. And so I'm glad I have someone to teach and to be with in a community with who is on the same level as me and the same path. And I appreciate all of you. And I can't wait to hear how this benefited you and how your intuition is speaking to you. So please share in the group or share with me through Messenger or my email. I'm happy to hear from all of you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for everything. Bye.